Preparing to live stream the meeting. Hey, someone say something? Test my headphones. I don't.
Test of headphones.
Yeah, they're not working. All right.
If you change, if I think I had this similar problem. If you go over here to the microphone, you should see select speaker, and you should see option to select the headphones. I don't know if that'll work.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I was more trying to get it like from my computer, but focusing on the important things. Thanks for coming, guys. You guys are the best. So I came to talk about the group violin class and what you think it is and how you would describe it, because I can only think of so many ways to talk about it. But then Marie pointed out to me recently, people probably have absolutely no idea what this even is. So if you guys could describe the group violin class in one sentence, what would it be?
A more fun learning experience.
Cool. What else?
A COVID pivot that doesn't diminish how awesomely effective it is.
Yeah, cool.
If I were to describe it, since I have experience both with playing or learning violin just one-on-one and in a group, I kind of think that in a group class, what you get that you don't get one-on-one is you get to hear other people play with you, and it's kind of different because when you play, you get to check your intonation with your other violin players in the class. Something that's probably a little different.
Yeah, totally. I agree, especially in real life. But what do you? But I'm just gonna let it flow. So if you want to say something, just butt in, and if you don't know, so I might accidentally miss your answer. In which case, throw it in whenever, because I just want it to be. I don't really want it to be an interview. I just want it to be a conversation. And Mark reminded me of saying that's one of the amazing things about playing in a group in person. But how do you feel like it's translated into online learning? Do you think it's as good? Do you think it's worth it?
I definitely think it's worth it because violin is kind of my escape. And I don't know if it's because I already knew this group from beforehand and played with them for a while, but it felt like a seamless transition. And it really motivated me to practice more, to keep up with everyone. And it was really great.
I think with the online learning, it kind of gave a different excitement where when you do it in person, you're hearing it together as you grow. But with the online experience, you're hearing it individually. And then when it comes to the concert, all of a sudden you're hearing it all at once. And I found that really exciting every time, even if it was just like me as an observer, me in the class as well. So it kind of gives a different thrill of playing in an ensemble.
Yeah, and actually, this is why I'm so excited about next semester. Is I found something where instead of waiting a whole semester to hear yourselves together, you're going to hear it every class. So on this new software, which it should only take about 10 minutes to learn at the beginning of the first class, you're gonna play the thing, and then you get to hear it all together, combined, playing back right away.
That's awesome.
I know, I'm so excited. So you can do it based off a metronome, you can do it based off of a recording that I've pre-done, or I guess on the spot, or I can pick a leader. Like, let's say I want Felicia to lead. I can be like, okay, Felicia, you're going to do the recording, and then everybody else is going to play to that, or whatever.
Ooh.
There's a couple options.
Nice. Yeah, that I find great because I always, the group classes in person, the timing was so important. I'd play stuff on my own and I'm like, oh, I got it. But, you also have to listen to other people. And if they miss a note, be paying attention to it. So I'm really excited to kind of have the next semester have this group stuff involved. So we kind of get that back, which I really loved.
To me, the best part is hearing it. I don't know, just there's some feeling that I can never think of the right word for, where you're playing your part and then you hear it with the other part and it's just glorious. This sound that you just can't get. You can't get that feeling anywhere else. I've never had it any other time.
I agree. There's something about playing music together, it's just like not the same like when you're practicing in your little room by yourself, and then you like go to a group class and you hear all like the harmonies and everything. It definitely gives you like a, I don't know the word for that feeling. It's definitely like a unique, like, oh my God, it's coming together.
Yeah.
You know?
And so motivating, because sometimes I'm hearing myself and I'm like, but for some reason, as a group, even if we individually think we don't sound as great, together, we always sound really awesome. And it's great.
Yeah, that's true. Even I think the phrase "you are your own worst critic" really comes to mind, because even yesterday I was trying this live stream of like practice with me, and I I got so in my head about it that I just quit. You know, I was like, I hope no one was even watching that. And then I listened back to the recording to see how it even sounded, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought, but I thought it was like the worst playing on the planet. You know,
I don't think that's possible for you, but
It actually makes me think about like, there's like a ironically, when you're having these group classes online, you're forced to listen to yourself a lot more because of that. And, you know, as like you're listening, when you're, for me, at least when I'm practicing by myself, I'm just like, I'm going to focus on getting the notes right. And then the timing will come after. But in group class, you can't exactly get away with that, but you're also still forced to listen to yourself anyway. So it kind of adds like that layer of understanding that like you play individually, right? But even if you make a few mistakes in like these measures, when it comes together, it's still that one large sound from the ensemble. So kind of unintentionally, the online classes have forced me to think about those layers a little more.
Yeah. Yep, I know what you mean. So like so I get questions pretty often about violin, but also group classes. And usually when someone comes to me for violin lessons, they don't really have a concept of either one, and they just like, I want to learn violin. And then when it's before a semester, I'll try to encourage them to join. And often they kind of ask me like, why would I join a group class? What's the point? Or why would I join a group class when I can just take a private lesson? What would you say to that?
I can answer that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
From just starting, I was telling Antoinette, I think in my last lesson that, because I'd always wanted to do it, but it's like finding time. And so as hard as COVID's been, it's really been like a gift of time for me, like not needing to commute and things like that. So I went from doing a lesson a week to playing in group and a lesson like 5 hours a week. And I find that with the violin or with anything, the more you do it, the better it feels. And so for me, it wasn't like, I guess because I never practiced with everyone, except for like when I went to your apartment and, you know, played it. It sounded really nice when there was someone there.
The hybrid classes, right?
The hybrid class. So I got to hear it. But I also think too that playing to record is so hard. And so there's an extra pressure, and then it's letting it go, that it's like, it's never going to be like up to par, you know? But I find that those steps, like if I can, even if we were to go back, if I can still do those steps in practicing, I think that my live playing will be so much better, you know? But I found that I improved a lot more with group, because it's like the other day we spent like 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes on like just a measure, you know? And so I find
a few
like,
measures.
But still it was like a few measures. And then in the group class, it's not just learning pieces and playing with other people, but also, you know, the drills, the technique part. So it's just like more technique and then learning different rhythms and things like that. So I feel like it's all encompassing experience of playing. So it's not just like, because when I first learned violin, it was just Suzuki. And so I've learned so many different things. And that was also like 1,000 years ago. So things have changed a lot, but there's so many different things and techniques and technology and all these things that can help But had I not joined the group class, I don't think I would have had any of that information.
Yeah. I don't think Suzuki hasn't changed at all. That's why I introduced all this stuff. Hillary?
I was just going to echo probably a lot of what Gabby just said, but I found the group classes just very motivating on a couple of levels. Well, first of all, I like the social aspect because I had started in real life playing with the group, but it was really only a couple of weeks before we had to pivot. And I feel like I really got to know the other classmates a lot better in this strange interaction. I felt, again, kind of getting beyond the I'm afraid to play in front of other people. Everybody's doing it, so we all just kind of take our own stab at it. And then the other thing about group is if I'm not motivated to practice, I get a little more motivation knowing I have to play in front of other people besides just making up excuses for one teacher. But also the twice a week thing is like it like keeps me going. Like even if I've had a bad week and I really couldn't practice at all, getting that second option available is really great. So for me, group kind of I'm tilted towards group.
Absolutely. I'll jump in and say that I think it's really intimidating to start the violin. And I started in my 30s, and it's the first time I ever picked up the instrument because I wanted to play it ever since I was a kid. And it's so intimidating, and you go through your head, you're like, this is ridiculous. I have these chunky, heavy fingers. Like, why would I ever think I could do this? And it can get discouraging. But when you see that there's other people, hey, there's all these other crazy people who also think they can do this, and you struggle together, and then you make a sound. Like my mom is like, oh my God, you're moving the stick perfect. She has no idea, but she loves everything that I do, even though I'm a little self-critical. So I think it keeps you motivated because nothing is magic. Everything is practice, and it's just be patient. And it's easier when you're doing that with a nice group of people who also are in the struggle. And it's just awesome. And you can play Twinkle together, and it's like, oh my God, it's really awesome.
I was just about to echo that same exact sentence. When I was looking, and this is just speaking just to group classes in general and not how it's so kind of worth it with the online, is that like I wanted to learn violin, but I'm too shy or embarrassed to like go do it, listen to my own sound only. So like having that kind of like, what is it, like mutual suffering in a way of like that
in a good way
class of yours, like we all don't know what we're doing, and that's okay. And like honestly with like this class, it definitely was, even though it was in person at the time, it was like the most comforting way of learning a new instrument for the first time. And like I can't imagine that being any different with like an online course at all, because
as I said, right,
we just kind of learned it together and all that. So definitely feel that sentiment on for beginners for sure.
Yeah, shared struggle. It's great.
Yeah, I've had a hard time transitioning the absolute beginner into online. It's been okay for private lessons, but I feel like an absolute beginner to do a group class online is really intense, especially because in person, I had it where I had an assistant teacher. So she could, like, I had Marie helping me. She could help me tune. She could go around the class, fix the hands, all this other stuff. And if the camera angle's off, you're never going to know what they're doing. So I basically feel like I need more resources available for that, like preparation. And so I've been trying to like encourage people who used to play to have a reason to pick it up again. And I feel like it's a really good opportunity to do that, which is why I want to get the word out.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Rocio. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Just talking about group class, nothing specific. So here, I feel like a big question that people have is they only want to learn in person, and they're asking themselves, is it really worth it to learn online? Should I just wait till COVID's over and then just go in person? What do you guys think?
Learn online. It's kind of what Gabby was saying, like, there's time now, and it's the perfect time to like learn something new, something you found challenging and intimidating. Because, you know, what we learned last year is, just appreciating so many different things that we might have taken for granted. So if there's something you ever wanted to try, don't feel intimidated. Just kind of go ahead and do it. And I think it'll give you the kickstart, and you can always transition. But with the time now, I think it's a great way to kind of utilize it and feel positive about yourself in a crazy time.
Mark, you're so quiet.
It's kind of a hard question to answer. Why would you pick up? Well, I mean, I don't know. I might sound a little biased when I say, because we've done lessons in person, me and Antoinette, but as far as online, I mean, wouldn't, only because I think, me personally, in my view of music, for both the listener and the player, it's a way to express yourself, and I think it's very cool in times like this to pick up something and learn something new like that, especially music. So, I mean, I wouldn't wait. Personally, I would just go for it.
Yeah, and actually, Mark, you're a great person to talk about it, because you picked up the violin on your own, educated yourself through the internet at large, learned a couple basics, decided you didn't think your bowing was as smooth as it could be, and then you reached out to me and we started lessons, and then you started with group classes. So I think you're a great person to talk about it, actually. That's probably a lot of people are in that position. A lot of people find it really hard to get themselves going initially anyway.
Well, you watch, if you were to go into, let's say, lessons with someone or a professional teacher, let's say you were just starting on your own, I think most of the difficulty, you watch these different YouTubers or whatever information resources you have online from maybe professional violinists, but then you try to do it yourself, you try to imitate that, and some of your own questions might arise that aren't answered. Like those resources are more generalized, like how to hold the bow, like the specific position of the left and right hands, but then you have your own questions that come to surface where you can't get answered on your own. So that's where you have to, or at least for me, that's where I kind of got encouraged to sign up and maybe get lessons.
Yeah. Well, what made you make the switch from, not switch actually, because you're doing both, but what made you take the plunge and go into the group classes, or what validated that decision to do that?
Well, that's hard. Well, one thing I will say what I like about the group class. What I like about the group class, I think Hillary mentioned it, is that between person and one-on-one lessons and group class, one very different thing is you have now in the group class you have other people listening to you, right? So before you weren't self-conscious of people listening to you, it was just your teacher, or maybe just by yourself, right? You're not playing in front of others. Where now you're in a group class, you have to get used to playing in front of others. You have to get maybe habituated in other people listening to you. You have to be self-aware of that. And I think for me personally, it was a little shocking, because now it's like, well, wow, like everyone's listening to me. Like, what if I mess up, something like that. So that's how yeah. But
that was okay
because... Oh, why it was okay?
Because you work harder.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a hard question to answer for me. I mean, yeah, I guess you would work harder. And I mean, I guess it motivates you more to practice, definitely. Because now you have other people listening to you. You're more self-aware of being, or maybe messing up in front of others. You're more motivated to practice.
Well, you must have enjoyed it because you signed up for the next semester. So.
The other people listening to you feel the same way about themselves. So I think it's just like, all right, they got it. I'm going to do it. And we'll just keep on moving from there.
I also think the group classes that we pivoted to, you've been able to get us really accelerated on a lot of the technologies that make it work and make just practice in addition to the classes better. I don't think we had such good information exchange in the live classes. So on that level, it's been actually a plus.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely things I've learned about like easier ways to get things to you and have them in your possession that I'm going to be continuing later anyway, you know. So yeah.
I was like, one of like the things that I've loved about like the online course was this additional aspect where it's both individual and group, because we have more resources to practice by ourselves that are, feel a little more guided rather than just like a sheet music itself. And I think that's like the top thing that I really enjoyed out of it as well, because it's a mixture of both at that point.
Yeah. Thank you.
And
So
I also
wondering-
think
yeah.
too, I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I just wanted to say that this time, when you had asked like, why I'll wait for what, you know, like we don't really know when these things are going to be over. And so from someone who teaches, and you know, I teach at high school and I also teach individually and group classes, you just transfer. And it's one of these things too, it's not just like a skill of playing violin, but it's it's one of these things. It's like you can wait, but you don't know how long you're going to be waiting. And I think that this is a platform that also can stay. Like I've been trying to get my sister to reach out to you. She lives in Texas. I'm like, I have a violin teacher. You can play. So now there's more accessibility. So if you can't make the class, like we were talking about this the other day, I know what we want. I know what the ideal is. But sometimes you have to take what you can have. And so like if there's someone that can't make the class for whatever reason, and I was surprised to hear how many people didn't live in New York that you had told me about, or that left, you know, to go live somewhere else during this time. And then, but we're still practicing. So it's accessible this way.
Yeah.
I wanted to add that hopefully my internet will work. That with this COVID situation being at home, actually the group classes in particular, they are fun. I enjoy them a lot. So having the class as part of my routine has helped me a lot to go through the quarantine. So actually, I think it's a great time to start the class.
Yeah, cool. Actually, I saw this comment on Reddit, so I've been trying to get the word out more, and I don't know, I'm really obsessed with just like always improving and making things better, which is probably why I love my students so much, because I think you guys are like that too. I assume I can only assume outside of violin as well, but so I was reading this book on, you know, social media and like different ways you can get your name out there and stuff in a natural way. And anyway, so I started going to Reddit, and it turns out I really like all the people there. They're really cool, laid back, and like nice, really nice. And so this one person asked, is it really worth it for me to learn violin online? Like, am I going to get any good? That's like basically what they said. And I know what my answer is. What would your guys' answer be?
Yes. Easy yes.
Yes. You just practice, you get better. Just works that way.
That was a part of my answer. Yeah. I mean, because I get where they're coming from. You know, there's a reason why we have teachers in person. And there are certain things, like a live concert versus a recording of a live concert is not even close. But they're like online, I told them like you can learn technique. And I said, please send a recording of yourself from time to time to your teacher, because then they can hear your tone better. Ultimately, of course, you're going to want to do in-person lessons at some point. But like Gabby was saying, like, how long are you going to wait for this? You know, might as well just act on it.
You're not getting better sitting at home. So.
And I feel that I know there's been a lot of like discussion with like just teaching in general, like with universities and time and not being there. And from someone who teaches, I'm still giving my students the same information. You know what I mean? And I realize that yes, there is like a gap. Like I can't hand them a paper. I can't like point. I can't do so many different things. But I feel like these are adjustments that we all have to make in different things. This just was really thrown upon us. But it's opened up a whole avenue of possibilities. I mean, now when I teach a class, I was telling Antoinette that I have a 7 a.m. class, and I had this woman taking my class from that she was living in France. So we've gone from like a just like local, you can take yourself global and you can work with so many different people. You can, like, what was the first app that we used for the, was it acapella? Yeah. So when I was looking on that, I saw there's people from all over the world that are willing to collaborate. So now there's really, like, if you have an idea, there will be someone somewhere that will be willing to work with you. And that to me is mind blowing, because like it used to be, it's like, as an artist, you're always trying to find people to connect with. And now, because of the positive and beautiful things of the internet and all these things are what we're talking about, you know? So it can, if you look at it like that and you use it to your advantage, you can really improve in things. And I don't feel like education is ever time wasted, whether it's through the computer or it's through, you know, it's just different. And we're all trying to figure out how to make it as three-dimensional as possible, you know? But I think that that's in the works with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, so I have two students, Joel and his wife, Jen, and Joel's been around a while, then eventually his wife got into violin, and then it turns out that one of their nieces plays the viola but hasn't picked it up in a while, lives in like New Mexico, and she just signed up for the group class, so now they're all going to play together.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's nice.
Yeah, I love that. I wish.
That's awesome.
That's why I'm like so excited to get the word out, because I'm like, it's so easy to come together from wherever you are, you know. As long as you speak English and it's in a awake time zone, you know,
Right.
like I'm like, everybody come and join us. You know?
True. I'll just add, like from my end as a teacher, what I've seen in my students, like in terms of online learning, even though, you know, I mostly focus on the private lessons personally, kind of like what Gabby was saying, like it is kind of more empowering in an online atmosphere in a sense, because you're held a little bit more accountable for your own practice. Like you can't just like kind of play along in the lesson with your teacher and like have that soft padding of the teacher sounding good and how you sound, you know what I mean? Which is fine. Like, you know, the teacher is the teacher and they're there to help you. But like as a student, you're kind of on your own and your sound is a bit more exposed, and that's okay, because then you can actually improve it more and kind of confront that a little bit more as something to work on in your own practice. And it kind of puts the responsibility a little bit more in your hands of like, okay, what can I do to make my playing better, as opposed to, you know, kind of heavily relying on someone else all the time. So I think that's really cool. And then definitely like the international aspect of things is like such a huge opportunity for students to meet each other in a group class and play music together that you would have like never otherwise have met even in your entire life. And I just think that's a really special opportunity. Like I think all of you guys are so awesome. I'm so glad I get to meet all of you. And,
Yeah, can you imagine if we didn't do this and we didn't have contact for like 2 years?
oh my God.
I hope not 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already been a year. Oh, right? No, it's almost been yeah.
It's basically a year.
Basically a year.
Yeah.
And then
March
by the
is
end of
what-
the year, it's not like people are going to want to sit in an auditorium shoulder to shoulder, I don't think. You know, so, I mean, but like, I feel like, like, when are we going to get comfortable, like, be in a room together and no one's thinking about it?
Yeah, that's going to be, and they have to be all spaced out. It'll be a while. But what Marie said of just like bringing people in, like I have friends who are always like, I want to see you play, you know, and I've been able to have my friends from all over the country. I have lots of friends in California, and they were super excited to be in my little fan club. They're hilarious. But it was really nice to have them come to the concert and, you know, just be so motivated. I had actually 2 friends, they were like, I want to learn. I think they got scared after, but they really were like, I want to learn to play violin.
That's awesome. They should.
Especially seeing the kids too.
Yeah, the kids are so cute. I know.
James
is in the house.
Hey.
Hey, James.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. Sorry, I was on a work call that went over. Thank you for texting me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I did. Cool. Thanks for joining, James. We're just chatting it up about group classes, what the heck they are, why the heck someone would join, why I keep saying the word heck in this sentence. But yeah, so pop in with any of your thoughts, everything's off the cuff. I don't have a list of questions. It's all completely inspired. Actually, I did want to ask you guys, thinking about your time in group classes, what is one moment that stands out that's your one of your favorite moments, whether it's a class or the concert or anything at all, just related to group classes or violin?
I think we were playing a really challenging song where I was like, Antoinette, I might give you the side eye. I don't know if I can do this, and just knowing that you're showing up for your group and together we were awesome. And I remember we all finally got it because we were all like, there's no way. She's being very ambitious, but we all got it. And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, this is awesome. And it felt so, so good.
Awesome. Which one was that? Komodo?
I think it was Anna Kleina. No.
Oh, yeah.
Man. I was like, are you sure? This is the one you want me to say?
I would say the same thing about Game of Thrones too.
That was challenging. And because that was the same concert you guys did, Canon and D, so you had a lot to work on.
Mm-hmm.
But you pulled it off really well. Game of Thrones came off really good.
Yeah.
In that concert, yeah.
Yeah, and just to Felicia's point, I think what I like about the group classes is the idea that, as a group, you're more accountable when you're with the other people. So when you're practicing, you're like, I don't want to be the person in the group who's not, at the same level as everyone else. And it's nice. It's not even in a competitive way. It just keeps you honest, making sure that you're doing your part, because as we're progressing during the semester, you can see people are getting better, and you just don't want to be the one who's, you don't want to be the straggler, the one who's not, pulling the weight. So I enjoy that aspect of the group classes because it really keeps you on track in that way.
Yeah, that's how I am. It's weird because I can get really motivated, but I'm most motivated when I have a real and true reason to be like an obligation. So whether it's an obligation of a performance or if I were in a group class, the same thing. Like you said, you don't want to show up empty-handed, so to speak.
Yep.
But it's hard. See, it's so hard to say that in an ad or something. Don't show up empty-handed. Come to group class. That's so weird. How do you communicate that without saying something so odd sounding?
I think it's, especially if you're starting out with an instrument, you're more likely to stick with it in a group setting versus, I think, individual, just because as you're going along, we share our challenges. You realize what you're struggling with is not unique to you. It's, the entire group is going through the same thing. And then you break it down in class where you're like, okay, let's maybe start with a metronome at 60. Then you build it up. And then also it just makes us, one of the things we do well is you might have an ambitious goal, but you're okay with us getting 90% there, which I think is fine, because ultimately, if you're able to get to the piece, that's a key part is, you go in, at the end of the semester, where you started with and where you ended, you can definitely see that change or that development, which is the most important thing anyway, I think.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say something. So what would you say to somebody who goes, is group class hard? What would you say?
I'd say
yes and no. Is anything worthwhile not hard? I don't know. But it's wonderfully hard, like hard in a way that you have this end product that is so awesome that you can show your friends and family, and people are like floored that you can do this. Even if you don't think you're good, you're always going to be your worst critic, but it is amazing to do it. Anything worthwhile is a little hard.
Mark, what are you going to say?
I think to answer that, I would say certainly challenging. I would be lying if I say it wasn't challenging, but that goes if whether you're in a group class or one-on-one lesson, violin's challenging. And I think to overcome that, I think actually group lesson might be something that makes it maybe easier, because now you're listening to yourself and others play with you. So is it hard? I mean, violin in general is challenging, but group class might make it actually easier.
That's how I feel about it. I feel like it's easier to, that's why I think orchestra has always been around, because you get to sit there and you can be slightly imperfect and it still sounds so awesome. You know, that's why I love playing in an orchestra, because I don't want to be a soloist, but I like making music with other people. So it's really nice, you know.
I think that's the end goal of music, right? Is to play it as a group, I think. Like ultimately,
me too.
you want to
I
be able
think
to play as
so
a group.
too.
Like,
that was going to be my other question. So I have some students that never plan on playing for anyone. So they say, like, nope, this is just for me. I'm never going to play for my friends or family. And I run into this brick wall where I'm like, it's hard to convince them to join the group class, but I still would see a benefit. Do you guys think that's true?
I think whether you plan to perform or not, I just think the experience of playing with other people is an experience in itself. Like whether you're going to perform in front of an audience or you're going to be your own audience, I think there's definitely a feeling you get from playing that music with other people that you're not going to get playing by yourself. It's just not the same. So I definitely think it's you know, obviously I'm a little biased, but you should definitely do it, I think.
I agree.
Thanks for coming, Gabby.
Yeah.
Good point. I actually have a pretty good idea for people who are just scared. I remember looking up adult violin player, and it's like, think you're too old, and the next thing was like, you're not, and then it just kind of went on with like all of these different things. So I'm thinking maybe for you, if we could do like hear what students say, and maybe you can have a little clip from some of us and just some questions that people are scared of, like, were you afraid when you first started? Absolutely. Why are you doing this? Because of this. And can you play this as an adult? When did you start? And I think just having people who are in the class answer those questions that are like people's most fear points, I think might be a little bit encouraging.
Well, that's exactly why I have you guys here. So actually, maybe this is a good way to put it. What were you guys scared of right before you started learning violin?
I think for me, the one thing, because when I first started, it was with a teacher, it was on my own. I think one of the things I found, I mean, at least picking it up on my own, was like uncertainty, right? Like you look up the bow hold and like how to hold it, right? But you're uncertain, right? Like, am I reeling it right? Like, am I doing it right? Like you're questioning yourself. You have no confirmation from someone who knows how to play that you're doing it right. So I think when I transitioned to like lessons in group and one-on-one, it really helped me feel confident that I'm holding the bow right. I'm holding my violin correctly. I'm playing correctly. You have some sort of confirmation that you're doing it right.
And what happened as a result of getting confirmation? Anything good?
Confirmation, I think, well, you play better. At least that's how I found it to be.
Because I remember, like, we fixed a couple of things about your bow grip.
You just feel more comfortable at the end. And right, you play better, you sound better. At least that's how I felt when I was playing on my own. I didn't have confirmation to tell me that my bow hold was correct or I was holding my violin correct. You know, it was you know, you heard it the way I played it. It sounded, you know, like uncertain, not confident, but you know, you have confidence and you have someone who knows how to play with experience tell you that you're doing things correctly.
Yeah. What else? I know you guys have answers. What were you scared of before? What were your hesitancies and uncertainties before you started learning violin that almost made you not do it?
didn't want to fail. I'm an adult and I'm too old for this. Like, this is what children do. There's a little kid straight out of the womb who's way better than I am. Like, why would I do this, you know? And am I just being ridiculous? And I think it was just mostly my self-doubt. Why do I think I can do this? You know, it's the hardest instrument. But you absolutely can. And then it also opens the whole world of music. I listen to movie scores and I appreciate
Same here.
Like the work that went into that, how beautiful it sounds and how much I know they put in to make it sound like that. And even though that won't be my sound, I love it and appreciate it. And the fact that I can even like be in a little circle. Someone called me a musician when I was carrying my case and I was like, I'm not, no. You're silly. I'm an adult beginner. Don't think I'm anyone else. He's like, no, welcome. You're a musician. And it made me feel so good. And it's such a great community to be a part of. So just do it.
That's cool.
That's kind of similar, you know, we as adults, you know, what Felicia just said is very interesting. You know, we as adult learners, you know, or maybe we want to play the violin, we might be influenced by, maybe we like classical music, we might listen to violin music, and that's what we listen to, right? So when we pick it up, you know, that's kind of what, at least how I felt, like, oh, I want to play this song. It sounds so nice and beautiful. I just want to start and pick it up and play it, you know, and then you can't, obviously you're a beginner. So there's just some things that you have to overcome, you know? So, you know, like Felicia said, like, oh, why would I want to do this? This is for kids. I'm going to be playing kids songs like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I told my mom too, when I first started, I was like, you better expect to hear Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But, you know, you have to remember, eventually you move past that stage and you don't last there forever when you pick it up. So that's how I felt as a motivator. You know, you may be in that stage and you don't want to be, but you're going to progress from that if you keep going.
I really like
that. That's how I felt. You know, I've been playing now. It's been almost a year since I started with Antoinette, and I'm way past Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
That's well put.
Your progress. I mean, Mark, we've never really met, but I saw you play at the concert, and I was so impressed by your
Thank
playing.
you.
With how long you've been playing, and you learned mostly online. I was like, oh my god.
Thank you. Yeah, that piece I played was a little very, very far reach. That one piece I played, the Schindler's
List. Everyone loved it. Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
That was amazing.
You blew my secret about it being recorded with the little candle going out at the end. But
so sorry. I want to add dramatic effect.
No, it was well liked. Okay, so what are the fears? Hillary, did you have any fears when you were about to start violin again?
Oh, I was mortified. I'll retell the story for those who don't know. I played in my youth, and then I didn't play for 40 years. And when I picked up my violin, I brought it to a luthier to get it readjusted and everything. And I was too embarrassed to even test it out in front of him because I wasn't sure I could, you know, I would know how to hold it, etc. And then when I investigated what are my options, and I went through, should I do individual lessons or group? And when I found what Antoinette offered, I thought, well, let me do group because it just sounds more fun. And I really felt like I was starting from scratch, and you pulled me up pretty quickly. But I was pretty mortified for the first couple of weeks. I didn't really know what I knew.
Yeah. I knew that you knew a lot, and like you said, you zoomed right back up to your
skill. I wouldn't say zoomed.
You did.
I feel just better having done it, and I think I'm just resolved. Like I will never be, you know, in the Philharmonic, and that's okay. I think there is a world of us in between, not playing and playing professionally, and we do have so much available to us to enjoy and learn together. I do want to actually echo what Felicia said about understanding movie scores, because that's what you had exposed us to in playing with the orchestra, with a couple of those uh, scores that were just amazing, that I had never, really carefully listened to before. And the movies weren't even that great, but the scores were brilliant.
Which one did you have in mind? I'm so curious now.
No, I was thinking of, well, the beginner class had played the theme from, I forget the name of it. It was some space movie, and then the orchestra had played another like futuristic composition. The last winter,
I'm trying to remember.
like 2 winters ago.
The Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, we played Requiem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a terrible. I mean, it's terribly depressing. Ultimate depressing movie of all time, in my opinion. But beautiful score, exactly. Yeah. Which maybe added to the movie of it. Added to the. Kronos Quartet is so good. I love all their stuff.
Mm.
All right, I just found out we have another person watching live. So, the moment of truth. Rocio, did you have anything you were scared about before starting, and then you just were like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go.
It was not that much about the playing. I was not expecting that much from myself when I started. I was so afraid of the instrument. I hold a violin for the first time, in 2016, and I was like, I don't want to break it. What should I do? Or the first time I had to tune it, I broke the E string. And I went running to my teacher back in Buenos Aires, what should I do? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, this is the easiest string to break. Don't worry. But it took me a while to go over that. And I still have some fears. I cannot move the bridge still. I'm still learning.
No, the bridge is a tough one, yeah. That's good. This is why I love talking to you guys about this, because these are things I never would have thought to mention. Everyone's so different, with their own perspective. I think the only one we didn't hear from on fears was James.
I'd say for me, with everything new that especially as you get older, you're scared of failing, because you grow up with certain things. You go into your career, you become good at that or whatever, and then you think of how much has it taken you, like for example, Felicia, how much has it taken you to be a doctor? And look at all the work you've put in that, and you're like, how much of that can I put in so you try to do that equivalence thing, which I think is a wrong way to look at it. I think having done this now for about 5 years, I think the beauty is in the process. It's not so much of I need to get to the goal. I need to play in chamber music or play at at the New York Met or whatever. I think the goal is just saying I want to just pursue something consistently and enjoy the process, the growth, the development. Because I think for me that's the most rewarding thing of this whole past 5 years I've been doing this. But I think one of the things whenever I try to start something new, I'll always go through a phase of finding a million excuses not to do it. Whether it's, violin or working out or running a marathon or whatever, you find a million reasons not to do it. And then I hit that inflection in my mind where I'm like, I just need to find one reason and I'll do it. And then finally you do that. And I think for me was the fact that, your studio actually was 2 blocks from my office. So I literally was just like, how can I not want to take class when you're literally a 5-minute walk from my office? Because before I'd go through this whole phase of, do I want to do this after work on the weekends? Then I was like, you're 1 block away from my office. Let me just go and try it even for once and see how it goes and try to stick with it. And I think you're very inviting in how you made me sort of get into the instruments, just breaking it down. I think as an adult, you think of the end game of, I want to play, at the Philharmonic or whatever. You're like, no, just break it down with everything you started in my career. I never started off with where I am right now. You start off with all the small steps to it. And I think that's just the key thing is just find one reason and that's it. Forget about all the excuses. They'll always be there. They'll always, you want to sleep in.
I think, James, you're one of the students that I think you've been to every single group class since we started, when we did that little trial run with Over the Rainbow even, unless maybe Felicia, you also did that.
I started the year after that. I think I've been with
Okay.
you for 4 years, maybe.
So James, you've been doing, and you've never wanted to miss a group, like one semester of a group class. So
Yeah.
you must like it.
I definitely love it. I definitely love it. And just going back to Felicia's point, I think for me, when it really started to become exciting was obviously we're learning these great things in class, but I have, even right here on my music stand, I have so many scores of like movies that I absolutely love. I've gone down this path of Hans Zimmer. He does amazing stuff.
Amazing. I love Hans.
Like literally, like if you look at my YouTube recommendations, it's all his music. Like, and you listen to them, to Felicia's point earlier, it's like, you appreciate just the nuance. And a lot of these pieces are not even hard. You can literally just be playing the core or main part of it, but like, and obviously it's like different instruments coming together. But I swear, like that is like one of the most eye-opening things when you're finally just like, well, I can print that score and play even like 40% of it. Obviously, if you want to do the whole thing, you just need to practice and get it done. But that's been one of the most eye-opening things where you're like, wow, like I appreciate, like I watch a movie now and I'm more into the score than actually like what's going on.
Yeah, me too. And pre-COVID, I don't know if you guys ever went to the Lincoln Center, but they had these live scorings and they would pick these movies with big scores and a live orchestra will play the score while you watch the movie. And I dragged everybody, all my friends. I'm like, we're going to this. And it was just like awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Which movie did you go to on that?
I actually saw Red Violin, but they were going to
Me too,
have...
I saw that one.
We might
at the time, I forget.
Yeah. And then they had Harry Potter. They had a bunch of different things. They actually had, they had a bunch lined up for this year. That didn't happen, but there were some good ones I was looking forward to. So hopefully in the future.
I love that. Yeah, for sure.
And I even had a friend who watches Bridgerton. I don't know if anyone sees that. And she was like, I want to take violin because I love the music in this.
Oh, maybe I should start watching that. I didn't realize it had such a string-heavy score.
I haven't seen it, so that's her assessment. But yes.
Wait, which show is it? Sorry?
Bridgerton. It's like some...
It's like number one. That's all I know.
Oh, yes.
I think it's like Grey's Anatomy, but set in like medieval times.
Gotcha.
Just a love story.
You're not selling us very hard under Felicia.
I don't know this. I've never seen it. She just actually sent me. She was like, I really want to take violin because I absolutely love the score of this. So I'm going to teach her. Over. Yeah. And I'm going to just have her hold it so she could demystify herself. And I was just like, you have to come to class. So I'm encouraging her.
Awesome. Where does she live?
I like what you said about demystifying. That's maybe the biggest step. It's just like just holding the instrument and being like, oh, this is the bow. It looks like this. There's strings. Like literally just touching it. Like not even learning. Just feeling it in like for 10, 15 minutes and like understanding all the parts. Like that alone is such a big icebreaker or deal. You know, it can really breaks that sort of barrier to entry into violin, I think.
I'm wearing her down.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that. So I don't particularly hard sell people who aren't interested in violin because I know it's something that takes a lot of hard work and dedication and like a commitment to practice. So that's why I'm so like when someone's ready for lessons and they come to me, I'm like, yes, bye, Versio. See you soon. Thanks for coming. When somebody knows they want it and they sign up, I know they're on board. So I'm glad that you're chipping away. Hopefully she'll it's all about that decision, you know, you go like, I'm ready. I'm going to do it. And then you sign up.
That or just when you say no more excuses and just go for it.
Yeah.
One reason to do it. That's all you need is just one reason and you're good to go.
The James marathon style. So I guess the last couple things would be, is there anything else I haven't asked about group classes or violin or learning an instrument or music that you kind of thought you might want to contribute saying as we near the end of our conversation?
I think I'll say if you really want to do it, just go for it and, you know, set these goals for yourself. My goal was to be able to read the music and play some holiday songs for my family. And I reached that goal a year and a half ago. And I remember sitting there playing and being like, oh my God, I'm at my goal and I can still do more. And it was so exciting. And it just opens up doors. So just do it. It's awesome. Don't worry, no failure. Trying is the best thing you could do.
Yeah.
So true.
Well put. Any other lingering thoughts about anything?
I'd say the best thing about the group class is the support system. Like, when you're learning, and think of just how a lot of things we've learned in life, it's always been a group setting, I'll be honest. Like, and that's where people thrive. Obviously, you can do individual and group, but for me, it was done pretty much all the group classes since we started. I think the main thing is just people pick you up when you're down, because there's a lot going on in life. You have work, you're traveling, things are happening in addition to just playing the violin. But I think having a group and knowing that you're not the only one going through or having ups and downs or struggling with certain parts or having breakthroughs, it just helps you. Like, sharing that is, like, I think one of the reasons why I, convince or sort of like tell someone this is the best way, because you'll always have someone to bounce, pick you up when you're down, someone to share tips, someone to, always just keeping you at the right level where you should be, and just sort of progressing together. I think that's one of the things I love the most.
Thanks. Bye, Felicia. Thanks for coming. Yeah, James, that's also really well put. Any last words?
Well, for me, one thing that influenced me pick up violin, I always thought it was something very beautiful instrument to listen to, and when played correctly, it's beautiful. That's how I look at it and how I think about it. So I was like, I think I want to pick this up. I want to try it for myself and see what it's all about and feel the reward of making beautiful music from the violin.
Sorry. It's hard to not say bye. Bye, James. Thanks for coming.
Bye. Sorry. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I always have a hard time getting the real reason someone's taking violin, because it's just, when it's art, it's hard to be like, oh, well, for work, I have to use Photoshop, so I had to learn it. It's just like, it's just an art thing.
Mm-hmm.
You want to enhance your life. Life isn't just about surviving. You want to make it more beautiful as well. Bring beauty to the world. Cool. Okay, well, I was going to ask if anyone had any questions, but now it's just you two, so I don't know that you do. But awesome. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate your input. I only have my mind and my imagination, but I'll never have what you have in your head. So it's really nice to hear what you have to say. So thank you. And thank you for all the kind words as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I look forward to seeing you in the first group class. Basically, I'm going to try. I realized, I think one way to get a broader reach maybe is to make them a little bit more standalone classes, so you can jump in on really any class. So I'm going to try to aim the curriculum a little bit more towards a single session. So actually, that would be good for you to know in case you want to hop into another class. Also, Mark, if you want to learn about some other technique, you can always hop into the beginning of a more advanced class. And then, if the rest of it's too hard, you can always jump off. It's totally fine. So you know.
Okay.
Thanks for coming, Marie, Mark, and Hillary.
Good to see y'all.
I guess. Yeah, you too. It's so nice to have another friendly conversation in between semesters.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, I guess that's it.
Bye.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.